Hello, hello, hello. Aspirin, England, and apologies for today. So the aspirin story is basically RFK and Trump basically announced that autism is caused by, I think, women taking aspirin during pregnancy, but then also taking aspirin alongside different vaccines that kids get, basically to relieve pain. I don't believe this story. I don't believe them, but not because of any particular reason. Basically, this comes from one study from Harvard that traced autism with aspirin. But the studies are often wrong. The fact that there is one study on something that said one result tells you absolutely nothing at all. It tells you that they had one study. There are 10 tons and tons of studies that take place all the time. And Scott Adams actually had this prefix here. He said, if you have any study, the odds of it being correct are 50-50. If you get a whole bunch of studies that all kind of say the same thing, okay, then maybe you can take a look. But one study, the odds of it being correct are 50-50. You don't know, you shouldn't, you just don't know. I don't think this study's, I don't think, there might be a correlation, sure. That's different than saying a cause. Like, maybe an increases the level of autism by 5%. Like, maybe that's possible. That's not an answer at all. Now I know they have the whole thing with the aspirin. The Tylenol company said you shouldn't take it during pregnancy. You shouldn't take anything during pregnancy. That seems to be the general framework. I just don't think that that's what causes autism. It just seems way more likely to be genetic to me. Um, plus the fact that my mom didn't take any aspirin at all when I was in utero, and I'm fairly autistic. Funny is that, well, autism is associated with a lot of engineering and computer science type people. If we want more technical people, should we just like put aspirin into the water supply and make more autistic people? Like, is that something we could do? Now, of course, I make light, but there are issues that people have with autism. People have very severe autism sometimes that actually prevents them from having productive lives. That is true. Um, but in a limited degree, yeah, it can probably have a really big impact on helping people specializing in things. So I don't know. I think they needed to have some kind of answer to justify all of the talking about it. I don't believe for a second. RFK is not a credible person. I like him. I like how he pisses off the right people in the pharmaceutical and food industries. I like that. But he's not a scientist. And his reasoning just is not the strongest. It's not tight, not tight. Not tight like a tiger. So if I was a woman, I probably wouldn't take aspirin during pregnancy, or just like you wouldn't drink or do anything else. But do I really think this is the cause? No, I don't. It would be interesting to see though, because if that was the true, why do people take aspirin? Well, so would you expect people with more pain issues to have more autism? Because if somebody gets inherited a bunch of pain issues, they're more likely to take aspirin during pregnancy, so they're more likely to. It struck me as a more of a chemistry-based study, though. Like, oh, there could be a possible pathway. Maybe. I think the more likely answer is if you're looking for a cause beyond the genetic, it's probably something environmental, like all the toxins and stuff. We have so many toxins everywhere we go, um, and all these microplastics and everything. I think more and more it's all going to come down to microplastics. So many issues are going to be seen to be coming from that. Because I just don't see a counter movement. And those aren't just one-off studies. There's a study after study after study after study for microplastics. But they wanted to say they found something, so whatever. I just don't trust it. I don't think it's credible. Maybe if they have 10 more studies, maybe I'll change my mind. But one study, no, absolutely not. So next topic, England. So apparently people are talking about apparently Fries has a new study, has a new policy proposal that you don't get benefits if you're a recent migrant. That seems like the most middle and obvious take you could possibly have. You cannot have mass migration corresponding with a welfare state. You can't, because you're just basically going to pay way too many people to come in, take all the money out of the system, and then the system will collapse. That will happen. You can have mass immigration or you can have mass welfare state. You cannot have both. It is impossible to have both. Literally impossible. It is not possible to do it. Now, at the same time, there's more and more people talking about deportations in England. So I see this in terms of colonialism, but not the way that you think. See, people tend to be against colonialism right now. Like, there are people who are going to be edgelord and be like, oh, colonialism is great, or that kind of thing. People will do that. Sure. But by and large, people think colonialism is wrong. And why do people say it's wrong? Well, there are different reasons. If you go into the whole oppression bullshit, DEI take on history, yeah, you can come up with an answer. Most people are against colonialism because they think that people have the right to govern their own place. People have the right to their own lands and nations and countries and to govern them how they see fit. Mass immigration runs counter to that because it necessarily dilutes the vote of people of people who would be native. You're displacing natives, literally displacing them by making it more difficult for them to get food, jobs, housing, healthcare, all that kind of stuff. That's wrong, right? Like if you had a bunch of let's say Polish people, let's say we bred like rabbits, and we all, a billion Polish people, and they all went to let's say Botswana, and made everything more and more expensive for the native Botswanans. Would that be right? I don't think anybody would think that's right. And yeah, maybe it's not a government sponsored invasion. It is an invasion. And listen, I'm an American. We were meant to be the country of diversity. Like that's how we were designed. We were like the experiment where you throw all the countries. In my opinion, we're the experiment where we throw all the different countries together and find out what happens. Just mix everybody up and see what happens. England's not America. England is an ethno state. And yeah, people will say, "Oh, you're gonna have different countries." People have always come into the United States. They come into England. It's like, yeah, from France or Wales, not from across the globe. These are related peoples that are connected by bounds of history and culture and ethnicity to some extent. It's not the same thing. Don't say that a million people from nothing against Nigeria. Nigerians are very smart, athletic, amazing people. They're not the same ethnic group as English. It's just not true. And there's obviously displacement going on. And I mean, that's fine to a certain extent, sure. But when you get to the point where you're just replacing the native people, that's wrong, right? I do like what Magnuson and Collins say about the net global diversity. Net cultural diversity worldwide goes down if England stops being English and becomes like Pakistan or some other country. It goes down. That's net diversity worldwide goes down. The argument from diversity should be to protect as many cultures as you can. Which sadly does not mean all of them. Some of them are just not going to breed. South Korea says hello. But I don't really know how you could be pro mass immigration. I really don't get it. In America, I guess it makes sense. Like America's a huge country. We don't have a land shortage or any shortage. We have so many resources. But England, I don't understand how you can be pro mass immigration into England. I just do not understand how makes any goddamn sense whatsoever. So, interesting thing. So, next topic: apologies. I'm not apologizing, and I don't even think it's useful. So, when I was very young, I used to apologize all the time. I would constantly say, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," that kind of thing, and I kind of meant it too. And I wanted to ingratiate myself with other people. I guess that was the goal. Um, they don't work. Let me rephrase that. They work on me. So if somebody apologizes to me, I'm like, okay, forgiven. I actually mean it. I'm like, okay, yeah, you saw that you did something, you made a mistake, or said something wrong. I forgive you, even if it's something really terrible. I can forgive a lot. The thing is this becomes a problem when other people expect you to apologize, and when you do apologize, they're gonna beat you over the brow for it. And that's most people, I feel like. Whether or not they like to admit it. Everybody likes to say, "Oh, I'll forgive anybody." No, you don't. No, you don't. You won't. Um, I think there's a study out that said that like people do not give forgiveness when they ask you to apologize. They just punish you harder. And that's what cancellation has really was. It was basically apologize. The person apologizes. You're a terrible person. Okay, then don't apologize. And I think that's the point at which the right is right now, whether we're like, yeah, we're not apologizing for stuff we didn't do wrong. We're not going to try to hit some imaginary middle and apologize for the fact that we're already there. Like, yes, is there right wing violence? Yeah. But the whole like, oh, it's all from the right, bullshit. Clear, unadulterated bullshit. We all know it's not true. We all know it's not true. And so you're expecting us to apologize when you do bad things. That's basically you're asking us to be abuse victims. That's basically what you're asking for. And we're like, no, not anymore. We're not doing that whole game anymore where we moved ourselves to the middle so you can go further to the left. No, no, we're done doing that. We tried it. We actually do really like you guys. That's the thing that's funny in the bite. The bite is so desperate for left wing approval. Desperate. We really want to be approved of by the left. You can see it all over the place. At least we did for a long time. That's gone. That whole wanting to be accepted by you is kind of done. Um, so no, don't expect any more apologies from the right. We won't give them. You call us all sorts of things, no matter what we do. We just don't care anymore. Now, are we any of these bad things you call us? No, we're not. But then you try to argue and be like, "Oh, yes, you are." Now we're like, "Fine. Think what do you want? We're going to govern. We're going to try to govern to the best of our ability." And we don't care if you use this mean word against us. It's like, okay, your spells don't mean anything anymore. You're out of mana. You've used it so much. You've used this word spell so much that it doesn't have any effect anymore. And you need to find new spells, but you don't have any because you don't have any creativity amongst your ranks. Your magic has been spent and spent and spent, and you've deleted your magicians. Anybody who could be a leader. Bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna go for it anyway. What the ideal man for the most of the right and the left is a magician. Aragorn. Yes, I know he has a sword and a bow and stuff, but all of his cool stuff that he did throughout the series was actually magic based. So using fire against an Nazgul, or correcting the army of the dead, or the sword of Andeville, or using the Palantir to challenge Sauron, or his quasi magical chasing after the hobbits, or and so on and so forth. He's a magic man. He does healing stuff. He's magic. So magic is still the equivalence of leadership today. But the magic matters. You can't just keep using the same spell and spamming it. It is funny. Cleveland, the main Fern uses the same spell more and more quick and fast succession, and that works. I think in the real world, if you use the same spell too much, it stops working. Anyway, that went off on a weird tangent, but whatever. See ya.